Here's my speech. Persuasive speech. This was our take 5. For the past 3 years, the media has been bombarded by two specific figures. More than 3 years for one of the two. Whether voluntary to the idea or not, some parts of our lives have been dedicated to these two figures, and most times people have been prone to choose one over the other. Although the world of these two individuals involve much more than just their being, it is here in front of you that I urge you to only imagine the person. Within the next 5 minutes, I will pick these individuals apart and prove to you, once and for all, that due to his friendliness, personality, lack of enemies, and mortality, that Harry Potter would in fact make a better significant other than Edward Cullen. Harry Potter, while growing up, Harry Potter, he was a loner. Yeah, he lived in a cupboard. Woohoo. But once he entered Hogwarts, he had many friends. He meets Ron and Hermione, his best friends for the rest of his life, the first day on the train going to school. Soon after arriving at Hogwarts, he becomes friends with all the Gryffindors, and pretty soon the rest of Hogwarts. Throughout the series, Harry becomes friends with international wizards, people of wizarding families all over the world, and he just has a very extensive group of friends. Edward only has his family. He has all the Cullens, and that's pretty much it, unless you count the small clan of Canadian vampires that they see once every 10 to 15 years. When in school, Edward and his siblings, they're very antisocial. They sit at the lunch table alone by themselves. Right before the bell rings, he'll get up and leave because he knows that the bell's going to ring. And as seen in Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, and Breaking Dawn, Edward's only friend that's not a Cullen is Bella. When you're around Harry Potter, you don't need to change yourself for him. You can be yourself. You can act yourself. And he doesn't mind. He'll do all that he can to protect you and your family, your friends, and pretty much the world. And you can have your own friends in your own life. He's not going to take you away from them because he's not your life. You can do your own thing. You can see people when he's not around, and he's not going to try to kill your friends. He's not going to be mortal enemies with your friend and make you choose one over the other. He's not going to do it. Edward, unless you're okay with the constant fear that he's going to eat you, you need to change your form for Edward. You need to become a vampire if you're going to spend the rest of your life with him. And I mean, that's not appealing to most people. He takes you away from your friends. He takes you away from your family, especially if you change your form. You become a vampire and you leave your friends and your family behind. And Edward only wants to protect you, or if you even get on that level, he only wants to protect those closest to him. He wants to protect the Cullens, he wants to protect Bella, and you need to be on a certain level with him for him to want to save you too, but that only saves you. That doesn't help your family, that doesn't help your other friends or those around you. And on the topic of saving you if things go wrong, enemies, and this is a spoiler for anybody who has not read the books or see the movies, but Harry Potter had one mortal enemy throughout the entire series, Voldemort. Voldemort wants to kill Harry Potter. They're enemies, and Voldemort's not a threat anymore. Harry kills Voldemort. He's done. He's over with. And besides social enemies, jealousy, and things like that, Harry doesn't really have any enemies. He had two main social enemies his entire life, the Dursleys and the Malfoys, and at the beginning of Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows, he leaves the Dursleys. He's never going to go back there, and he's okay with that. So that kind of cuts them out of the picture. And then the Malfoys, there's a war going on between dark wizards and regular wizards, and even though the Malfoys are family of dark wizards, he saves Malfoy's life. He saves them, and pretty much the Malfoys now owe everything to Harry Potter, so they're not that terrible to him anymore. And finally, Harry's job, he's an Auror, he's trained to ward off evil, and you know, if anything bad were to happen, if anyone were to rise to power on a minor level that Voldemort was, Harry, he can do it. He can get rid of them, and you'll be okay. Edward Edward and the Cullens, they just live in constant fear of enemies. They have the Volturi, and although not really explained in the Twilight books, the Volturi are out to get the Cullens. They, in the short second life of Bree Tanner, you find out that the Volturi want to get rid of the Cullens. They do not like the Cullens. So living in constant fear of the worst vampires in the world is not a way to live your life. There's always the threat that humans are going to discover who you are. And then other vampires, most vampires don't like the lifestyle, don't understand the lifestyle that the Cullens live, so they're really not on a great basis with them, and that's scary. Like, why would you want to live your life like that? And finally, mortality. Harry's mortal. He's gonna die. He's gonna grow, but that's okay. He can grow. He can get old. He can have a family. He can choose to stop having kids, and all of a sudden, if you and him want to have kids, you can do it. Not that way. You can have another kid. You can work, and you can stay stable in your work and your family and your neighborhood. But Edward, if Cullens are immortal, you can't stay in the same place for a long amount of time, because you're eventually going to be 30 years old and look like you're 17, and people are going to talk, and they're going to know that something's wrong. And if you look like you're 17, you are going to have to repeat high school over and over and over, just like the Cullens did, and that's not fun. You're going to lose touch with your family. You're going to have to move away, because the same thing, you're going to look like you're 17, and your family's going to notice that something's different. And you can never change the way that you look. Edward has the coolest hairstyle of anyone of the day, yeah, but what if in 20 years that hairstyle means something else? You can't change it, because it's never going to grow back. So in conclusion, by reviewing the lives of both Harry Potter and Edward Cullen, I cannot imagine someone thinking Edward is more appealing than Harry. From the never-ending amount of high school to the constant threat of discovery or destruction, the life of Edward Cullen seems like a cruel nightmare next to the glamour that is Harry Potter. Sorry about Waffles All Freak Fest there. Ew, I